my YouTube channel. It's your girl Elodie again, and this is the Alert Show. When I say booyah, you say E. Booyah, E. Today we're going to be talking about bone marrow transplant. If you remember my last show I was talking about sickle cell and genotypes. And it was something that I wanted people to know about. It is so crucial that you know what your genotype is, you know? So anyway, let's jump on to the next topic. Today is all about, oh, I'm so thirsty, excuse me. Oh wow, okay. So today is all about bone marrow transplant. Now, it's all about a treatment for sickle cell, and it's so important. I have a successful story that we're going to be talking about, so it's part of the whole topic today. I did promise to have a special guest today. My special guest today is Mr. Sola Ibanja from the United States of America. Hello, Mr. Sola Ibanja. You're welcome to the Alert Show. As you may know, my name is Elodie, your host for today. You're very welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing better than I deserve, Elodie. Thanks for asking, and it's a pleasure being here on the Alert Show.
You're very welcome to the show once again. I'm so happy. Could you tell us a little bit more about yourself and what you do?
Now, I would like to tell the viewers, newsflash, the host of the Alert Show, Elodie, yours truly, and myself, we're actually cousins, so she's my baby sister. Yay! I'm an engineer here in the US, precisely Michigan. That's where I reside with my family. I'm married and I have two beautiful daughters, Elna and Queen. And my wife she's at home taking care of her kids, and because of what our daughter was going through, she had to quit everything to stay home. But we thank God everything is better now, so she's looking at going back into picking up her career where she left off.
What is your understanding of sickle cell?
Okay, from what I know, sickle cell is a blood disorder that is, it occurs in Africa. It's prevalent in African Americans, South Americans, and the Middle East. And it's a genetic blood disorder which is passed down from parent to offspring. That's what I know, in a nutshell.
Okay, so now could you tell us a little bit more about the bone marrow transplant? I'd like to hear a little bit more about it. I know we obviously spoke, but I'd obviously like the public to hear about it. And what are the disadvantages and advantages? The microphone is all yours, take it away.
14, I believe. I remember at the early hours of the morning, about 7 a.m. they placed my daughter in my arms. No, not 7 a.m. I believe it was 1 a.m. Sorry. They placed my daughter in my arms. It's a feeling you've never felt before. I was so happy. Then a week later, they called us from the hospital to tell us she was a sickler. And I remember I was driving and it crushed my spirit completely. I actually began crying. I was driving to work and I was a student at the time in California, Los Angeles to be precise. And I couldn't stop crying until I got to work, because I have an aunt who is a sickler and I saw what she went through. She suffered and she's still alive till today, miraculously. But she has been through a lot. And when family back home heard my daughter was a sickler, they too were very disturbed and worried. So while she was still a baby, she didn't really have crisis. No, she rarely had crisis. So it made us believe, okay, this is something we could handle. But as she got to the age, after she was 2 years old, she began having crises, and they were frequent. But funny enough, she didn't have the major side effects that sicklers have, like slow growth, slow teeth formation and all that. No, she didn't have that. She was always the 90th percentile when we took her into the hospital for checkup, in terms of her height, how agile she was, but still she was a sickler. And I did not want people that when they look at my daughter, the first thing I don't want them to see her as a sick child. Eventually we had to look at options out there. There must be something out there. I mean, science has really improved, so what is out there that could help our daughter? And we heard of the bone marrow transplant, and fortunately we met a doctor who actually understood the process, because she had her own daughter went through the bone marrow transplant and survived, and she had a rough ride, and the process was really rough on the daughter, but she survived and she's doing well. She's in college. So we went and spoke to the specialist, and by then we're in Michigan. And after the first meeting, I walked out of the place telling my wife we're not doing it. Like I mentioned before, I'm an engineer, and with engineering, I'm a figures person. And in my field, 1 + 1 is 2. 2 + 2 is 4. But in the medical field, 1 + 1 is 2 with a side effect of 17. And in some cases, there have been experiences of 24, and there could be signs of 75. That does not make sense to me. So we said no. We tried to go with some herbs we read online, but in fact, my daughter, her crises were just more frequent. So we gave in. They did the test to see if my youngest daughter was a match to donate her bone marrow. They needed her to just be a 90% match. It turned out she was 100% match, 100%, and she was even the same blood group. And that was good, because it means the chances of a rejection is very low. So we gave them the go ahead. The process began with chemotherapy, which until then, chemo was just a word to me. But experiencing it was really traumatizing. I wish I could carry the pain for my daughter. Basically, it's killing you slowly. I saw my daughter lose her hair. She's light skinned. She became darker, more dark skinned than I am. Like really. She was always sleeping, just vomiting blood, not wanting to eat. There is nothing was comfortable for her at all. And it was really difficult seeing her going through that. So that went on for like 2 weeks throughout of it, and yeah, she is running around everywhere at home like nothing happened. Good thing is she won't even remember as an adult what she went through. And what broke my heart is when I put my daughter's story of what she went through, and when she was leaving the hospital, of how when she left the hospital, the nurses and doctors, that is the hospital staff of that floor, they gave her a standing ovation, clap it for her. As she walked out of the hospital, she was a little bit shy about it. When I put that video up on Facebook, a lot of mothers from Africa, quite a few, were writing to me asking me asking about information about the process. One lady was saying she has a 6-month-old who is a sickler. One said she had a 4-year-old son, and it broke my heart, because it's not because I'm special. I was just favored by God to be in a country and have a job where the insurance could pay for such an expensive procedure, which was about $250,000. So this has to stop, because lots of kids are being born with sickle cell, and I contributed to that number. I feel bad because I was not educated. And the irony of it is my dad is a doctor, and my youngest brother is just graduated as a doctor in Africa. So I'm really happy with this topic my Elodie chose, and I volunteered to be the host. If there is a chance that you and your spouse will have a sickler as a child, don't take the chances like I did, and as many others do. I know you're in love, bed raising. If you are not willing to go to if you are not willing to spend that money in a fertility clinic for them to make sure your child doesn't turn out to be a sickler, don't do it. Don't do it. It's a life sentence for you, and most often they don't live for long. They pass away. And ask a parent about bearing a child is not something you recover from. You don't recover from such pain. You don't. Thank you. South Americans and
What can you advise people to do in terms of knowing what their genotype is? And would you advise someone to go ahead with their relationship should they find out their partner carries the same S group that they do in terms of genotype?
It's order that is passed, from generation on to generation when the how will I put it, the path permits. I would like to really advise my people as from Africa, South Americans, the Middle East, that you should know your blood genotype, if you're AA or your AS or SS, because it's what I went through and what I saw my daughter go through.
Could you also tell us?
I wouldn't wish that on anyone, to be honest, not even my enemy.
Find out about your genotype. Did you know what your genotype was, or did you find out at a late stage?
Yeah, I wasn't aware of my blood genotype. I am now, of course, because of the outcome. But I wasn't aware. I'll really advise people before you get married. I know you're enveloped in the emotions, the love. You're so in love, and I'm not saying that's wrong, but you want to be aware of your blood genotype. You don't want to have a kid with sickle cell. And that really doesn't stop you from getting married, because contemporary medicine or sciences has really advanced. I think there's a research that just got, it's not really at the research level anymore. It's actually it's being practiced now. The result of the research, where if you're at the early stages of a pregnancy, I think the first 12 weeks, they could check if the embryo, or is it a fetus, whatever stage it is, has a sickle cell trait, and they can cure it, fix the situation while it's still in your belly developing. Yes, and so if you both are carriers, I advise you, make sure you have enough money to make sure whenever you have kids or when you're pregnant, you go for the checkup. So if the kid has a sickle cell trait, it can be sorted before you carry the baby to its full term.
Thank you so much for answering the questions.
So guys, it's the end of the show. I'd like to take this opportunity to say thank you to everybody for tuning in. I hope you've learned a lot today. A huge and massive thank you to the Ebanjas family, his wife and himself, the kids. I love you guys. May God be with you. Bye-bye now. When I say booyah, you say E. Booyah, E.